All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. So, there was a time when the NBA's All Star game and All Star weekend was one of the marquee events, not just on the basketball calendar, but on the sports calendar overall. However, that hasn't been the case lately, as the NBA's All Star weekend has become a shell of what it once was. But maybe, just maybe, there is some hope for this game after what we saw tonight. Plain and simple, the bulk of the top NBA players haven't cared about the regular season for quite some time, and it's carried over to the All Star game as well. However, we saw something in the All Star game tonight which has been missing for far too long to this game, and that was competition. The USA versus the world format did bring something different to the game, and it did give the game something that's been missing for far too long. Because there was a time when NBA players wanted to compete against the other top players in the league, not just for bragging rights and to go out there and say that they were the best. Now, guys who were selected to the All Star game, once upon a time, they wanted to prove it to the fans, they wanted to prove it to the media and their peers as far as why they deserve to be there. But now we're in an era in the NBA where some of the game's top players have been acting like being selected to the All Star game is a burden. However, tonight players such as Kawhi Leonard brought their A game. And even though that Victor Wembanyama and the World Squad did not win, it wasn't because Wemby did not want to go out there and compete or win. The NBA's All Star game to me was on life support heading into today, especially after the dud of an All Star Saturday night that we saw last night, which really did not help the cause. But maybe, just maybe, the effort of the players tonight might have been enough to save this event. Now, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, in my opinion, has placated to the players for far too long. And for the most part, it has backfired immensely. We've gone from getting all star games where the score, where both teams would score roughly anywhere between 120 to 130 points, okay? But in recent years, it's got to the point that both teams are flirting with scoring 200. Why? Because nobody was trying. Now, Adam Silver and the NBA attempting to curb this by allowing players to do what they've basically been doing in the summer in free agency, which is to handpick their teammates. Okay, but now we've seen Adam Silver and the NBA opt for the USA versus the world format this year. I know that some of the players want the league to go back to the Eastern Conference versus Western Conference format, but the players are not asking themselves, why did Adam Silver have to go to these gimmicks to begin with? Okay, do you remember when All Star Saturday night was actually about the All Stars? Believe it or not, there was a time when the actual All Stars competed in the slam dunk contest, the 3 point shootout, and other events. When you think about the dunk contest, you think about the epic battle between Michael Jordan and Dominique Wilkins in 1988. Larry Bird's statement once upon a time in the 3 point shootout. And of course, when you think about the dunk contest, it starts and ends with Vince Carter in 2000. Now, these are just some of the epic moments that helped to make the NBA's All Star Weekend and Saturday night the marquee event that it once was. And this is what the NBA once again needs. And as I've said before, up until tonight, I really felt like the current players really have not cared about it. I mean, you just look at the slam dunk contest overall. The slam dunk contest has basically been reduced to several end of the bench players in the NBA and some G League guys going out there and participating in it. Okay, and it's a dud. All right, the NBA just needs to accept, as far as the dunk contest goes, that it's dead on arrival. The stars no longer want to go out there and do it, and honestly, some of them just don't want to smoke. I feel that it was if it was one of those things, if the NBA scrapped the slam dunk contest, there would be enough outcry from the public and even some of the players to say, hey, you know what? Maybe we need to try to bring this back. But in regards to the dunk contest, it's one of those for me. I feel like the halftime shows with the mascots on trampolines over the years, the professional dunkers on social media, it's all made it play more difficult, in my opinion, for current NBA players to be as creative because how are you going to go out there and show the fans something that they have not seen before? You think about J.R. Ryder when he came between his legs. I think it was 94 to win the dunk contest. Okay, we really hadn't seen that to that point in the dunk contest. And then, of course, Vince Carter took it to another level in 2000 when he caught it off the bounce pass. You think about some of the dunks that Andre Iguodala did, Zach Levine, Blake Griffin. We can go right down the list. It's becoming tougher and tougher for these guys to go out there and be creative and be more creative and show us something that we simply have not seen. Now, there was a time, yes, when the people would be bending over backwards to get into an NBA arena for All Star Weekend, and of course, we saw the stars out tonight in Inglewood for this game, and I think it's going to help it going forward if the players continue to give the effort that they gave tonight. And like I've said before, a lot of these guys don't care about the regular season. I will say this: if the players can give this type of effort that they did tonight, that should be the effort every night in the regular season. Okay, if you want fans to stay engaged, that's the way you got to go out there and do it. And honestly, some of it I put on the organizations as well. It's not just about the players because again, the topic of tanking in the NBA is once again front and center, and Adam Silver has had to answer a lot of questions about that at All Star Weekend. And it's unfortunate because this time should be all about Adam Silver talking about the beauty of his league. And he's had to spend so much time talking about players' efforts in the All Star game, talking about the tanking, and that's not good for the NBA. Again, it's one of those the players did play harder tonight. The question of the effort over the years, the question of the effort throughout the season, a lot of these things, in my opinion, would not have happened on David Stern's watch, the former NBA commissioner. A lot of the players did not like David Stern, but they respected him. I cannot say the same for Adam Silver. It's one of those, I really felt that if tonight was going to be another dud, you might really, if you're the NBA, you might really wanted to start giving some strong consideration to scrapping this game. But for me, you got to appreciate the effort that you saw from some of these guys. The best effort that we've seen in an All Star game for a very long time. I know the Kawhi Leonard's team did not win, but you think about that performance that he put on in the third game tonight when it was a Team World against Team Stripes. And I mean, Kawhi Leonard was a one-man band, and he showed why he can still be one of the best players in the NBA at this point in his career. And of course, the final game, it was a blowout. Team Stripes, they were a older team. They had just finished playing. They simply did not have the legs. And of course, Team Stars went out there and ran the veteran guys off the court. I'll tell you like this: if the players are going to continue to give the effort that they did tonight, I think you got to keep the All Star game going. I would like to see it go back to a 12-team Eastern Conference versus a 12-team Western Conference, the best from each conference. But guys got to go out there and they've got to compete. Okay, that is the bottom line, in my opinion. Don't do the four mini games or whatever like that. Let's go back and have a real game. Let's go back and see who the best really is. Let's go out there and do it for bragging rights. But again, guys got to be all in. And again, if they're going to be all in like they were tonight, then you know what? There's hope for it. The Saturday night, though, I still think you got to be perplexed by it because it's one of those where, it needs to be about the best of your game. Okay. And basically, you've got to go back and look and see, wow, is this guy on an NBA roster? This is a guy that's in the dunk contest, this, that, and third. That's not what it's about. I think tonight's game, though, did showcase, some of the younger stars and some of the future players of the league. Because let's face it, guys like LeBron, Steph Curry, James Harden, Kevin Durant, they're on their way out. Okay, they're 5 years from now. Most of these guys that I just mentioned, they're not going to be playing in the NBA anymore. This league is going to belong to your Luka Doncic's, your Victor Wembanyama's, okay, your Anthony Edwards. These are going to be the faces of this league going forward, and it's got to revolve around them. Ant Man, when he's locked in, is poetry in motion. And I think we saw that at times tonight. And again, like a veteran guy like Kawhi left it all out there. He put on a very good show for the home fans out there in Inglewood. Of course, that's Intuit Dome. That's the home of the Clippers. But nonetheless, this is the way that it needs to be on a consistent basis. For the first time in a very long time, pride was on display at the NBA All Star game. And if you're Adam Silver, okay, after so many years of frustration in this game, for the first time in a long time, you got to be able to hold your head up, stick out your chest, and say, hey, you know what? I like what I saw from the players at the All Star game. Effort. Okay, the fans, I feel, got like they got their money's worth tonight, and this needs to be the way that it is going forward. But like I said, not a fan of the USA versus the world format. Not a fan of the mini games. Let's go back to an East versus West format. 4 quarters, 48 minutes, but let's keep the same effort that we saw tonight. That's the big thing. But nonetheless, if you're the NBA, you've got to be happy with what you saw in Inglewood tonight. Adam Herky, what's going on? You're saying nothing beats East versus West. Winner gets home court in the finals. I like that. I like that. I'll tell you like this, going back about 20 years, I remember when Major League Baseball, excuse me, reached a bump in the road with their All Star game. I think it was 2002 in Milwaukee when they had a 7-7 tie because they ran out of players. And then MLB Commissioner Bud Selig changed it the following year and said, hey, you know what? We're going to go out there and award home field advantage in the World Series to the league that wins the game. And of course, we saw a much more spirited effort from the players in the MLB All Star game. I think that is a tremendous idea for the NBA's All Star game. I'll tell you like this, my man. Clearly, you and I are not in the same room right now. But if I was there, I'd high five you. So please high five yourself on my behalf. But nonetheless, I do think that's a great idea. You have to. We're talking about millionaires here, multimillionaires that are playing this great game of basketball. But still, at the end of the day, sometimes you have to incentivize things. Sometimes with money, sometimes with something like you said, with home court advantage. And I'll tell you like this: you look at the Pistons. They had two guys in this game tonight. You look at the Celtics, they had Jalen Brown. You look at the Knicks, they had Jalen Brunson as well as Carl Anthony Towns. It's one of those where for those guys in the East alone, they're fighting, scrapping, and clawing to see who finishes with the best record in that conference. Then on the West, I know that SGA wasn't there for the Thunder, but you still had Chet Holmgren. You've got Nikola Jokic there in Denver. You've got Wimbiana. All of these teams are in contention, trying to catch up with OKC for that top spot in the West. You know something? Hey, make them work for it. And I guarantee you, if there's a team that doesn't have home court advantage in the All Star, like in the finals, and it came down to what happened in the All Star game, they're going to go back and be frustrated, and it's going to make those guys play harder in the following year. But at the end of the day, you've got to find a way to incentivize things in order to get these guys to go out there and fight, scrap, and claw. I know that Adam Silver has done the NBA Cup. I'm not going to say at the beginning of the season, but towards the beginning of the season. And for me, I think it's a joke. That's just my personal opinion. But you know what? It's something to get eyes on your product. And the All Star game, for the most part, in the NBA fell on the wayside for the longest time, not because of the names that were there. It was the lack of a competitive fire. And it was disgusting for a long time. They've redeemed themselves, in my opinion, tonight, but they've got to find a way to build off of this. You got some very good, exciting teams for the NBA to keep an eye out for in the second half of the season. I like that Pistons team in the East. I think the Knicks can be formidable. You got to keep an eye on the Celtics. What are the Cavs going to look like on the second half with James Harden and Donovan Mitchell? Getting SGA healthy for OKC. What are the Lakers going to look like when they get everybody on the same page? So it's a lot to look forward to, and hopefully the NBA, not just for All Star games going forward, but also they could build upon it for the second half of their season as well. Adam Hurley, to your point, to your question, yeah, it's specifically sports on here. You see what I got behind me? I cover an array of things. Tonight it's basketball. Of course, we're going to talk about the NFL, college football, MLB, auto racing, boxing. You go right down the list, my man. I talk about it. That's my motto, being the total sports package for the total fan. So definitely continue to check out this channel. If you haven't subscribed to it already, please feel free to subscribe. And like I always say to anybody else, I'll tell it to you. Definitely don't be afraid to tell a friend either. But nonetheless, big time All Star game tonight, big time effort. And this is what the game needed. And hopefully, Adam Silver switching up the format will be the wake up call that the players need. I truly do hope that's the case. Thanks for the sub, Adam Hurley. I definitely appreciate it. You got a favorite sport or a favorite team, drop it in there and definitely keep your eyes peeled for when I do talk about said sport in the near future. But nonetheless, like I said, the effort was there. Let's see if the NBA can build off of this. And everybody involved with this game tonight, I think, should be happy. I went in to watch this game thinking like, it was going to be a dud. TFX, what's going on, my man? Yeah, I'm kind of like you, man. It was actually watchable tonight. It was one of those where I went in thinking like, hey, you know what? Okay, let me just check it out and see what's going on. I didn't catch it completely from the beginning, mainly from the beginning, but not completely. And I saw Twitter was blowing up, and they were like, "Wait a minute, we got a competitive All Star game tonight." And I'm like, "Hey, I got to check this out, okay?" Because I'll be honest with you, I checked out on the NFL's Pro Bowl games a long time ago. I will still watch the MLB's All Star game. I will still watch the skills competition in the NHL. And of course, they're not doing that this year because of the Olympics. But nonetheless, the NBA once upon a time, it was the game as far as the All Star games go. And then, of course, somewhere along the line, within the last 10 or 15 years, they just went completely by the wayside. And it was just unfortunate. And it was unfortunate that it had to get to this and it had to get to this USA versus the world, these whole mini games um, to turn things around. It's just unfortunate, though, that when it came to the quote unquote championship game tonight, that the veteran team, the Team Stripes, they simply just ran out of gas. And you know what? We saw the young guys in that last game just basically run them off the court. Between the combination of Tyrese Maxey and Anthony Edwards, it was one of those things. Kawhi, he was going for the heat check early, and I get it after he had the big game in the previous one. He didn't have the legs anymore. LeBron didn't have the legs anymore. KD didn't have the legs either. So it was all about the youngsters. And I think, even though that game was a blowout, it still shows you what the future of the NBA can be if everybody goes out there and is all out. Like I said, Ant Man Ant-Man plays like he has a chip on his shoulder. I'm a big time fan of Tyrese Maxey, and I think if the Sixers can just keep Joel Embiid healthy, they're going to be a very dangerous team in the second half of the season. But nonetheless, big time effort tonight from the NBA. The stars showed up and showed out in Inglewood, and hopefully this league is going to be able to build off of that. But folks, that is going to wrap it up for this edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. And as always, I thank each and every one of you for checking this out. Like I always say, if you like what you heard and saw, definitely feel free to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. You're saying LeBron couldn't stat pad. Of course he couldn't stat pad, because you know what? There were too many other guys out there who came to show up and play. LeBron, for everything that we say, LeBron did play hard tonight. Okay, LeBron, like I saw a lot of effort from LeBron as well in this game. But yeah, folks, I got some stuff to talk about tomorrow on this channel about the second half of the NBA season. So definitely do not be afraid to check out this channel. Um, Also, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, check me out anytime at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you give me that follow, I'll do the same in return. Thank you for the support, Adam. Definitely appreciate it. And like I always say, please don't be a stranger to this channel. I tell you that, like I tell everybody else. Also, if you're on Instagram, definitely check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Just like it is for the X, you give me that follow, I will do the same in return. Also, if you're on Facebook, check out the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports groups going on social media. TFX, enjoy your 3-day weekend. Um, I hope you made some money last week at Super Bowl 60. And go figure. Speaking of Super Bowl 60 and speaking of the All Star game tonight, I didn't have it on my bingo card, folks, that the All Star game for the NBA was going to be more competitive than the Super Bowl. I'm just saying. I'll throw it out there. If you had told me this 10 days ago, I put down $100, well, guess what? I would have been out of $100. The NBA showed up and they did their thing tonight. Not to say that the Patriots didn't play hard last week, but the Seahawks were just a better team. That's just a whole another topic for another day. But again, you gotta love the effort that you saw from these guys tonight at the All Star game, and hopefully it carries over to bigger and better things for the second half of the season. And not just that, maybe the NBA can build off of this in future All Star games and say, hey, this is the effort that we need. But nonetheless, until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off and I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.